You guys are always asking me to make your favorite foods on the show. And today I'm going to do just that. Viewer requests today on Let's Cook. Hi, welcome to Let's Cook. It's so nice when I get mail from everybody watching at home. And when I make appearances, it's great to get to talk to people in person. What I love about it is that sometimes I get the best ideas just in a conversation I have with the people when I'm doing those live demonstration. And it kind of jumpstarts my creativity. So today I'm doing viewer requests. Now, when I was at one demonstration, somebody was talking to me and they said, I love to make calamari and I really need some recipes for it. So I came up with this great recipe. As a matter of fact, let's go right to the menu, because in the menu I am doing a wonderful spicy chicken escarole soup. And then for the calamari, it will be braised with a shrimp stuffing. Both of them are out of this world. Now, we're going to get started on the soup. And let me just go over the ingredients for this soup. I'll be using 6 cups of chicken stock along with 2 teaspoons of dry sherry, 3 teaspoons of rice vinegar, 3 cups of escarole, a teaspoon of ground white pepper, a half a teaspoon of cayenne, going to put some heat in there, 4 tablespoons of cornstarch to lightly thicken it, and 2 cups of cooked cannelloni or white kidney beans, a large onion, a cup of carrots, 2 cups of mushrooms, and a cup of provolone cheese just to finish it at the end. Okay, now, in order to make the soup, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my pan and I'm going to heat the pan here, and I'm using a little safflower or sunflower oil. I'm not using olive oil in this. I want this to be somewhat neutral. We're going to heat the pan. And then to that pan, we're going to add and saute up some onions. But I have some mushrooms right here, and I'm using shiitake mushrooms with this. Great thing about shiitake mushrooms, and by the way, where people say you don't have to wash the mushrooms, you do need to wash the mushrooms. The only thing you don't want to do with the mushrooms is you don't want to leave them in the water for any long time because they will absorb a lot of the moisture or water. So you want to stay away from that. So we'll just take these shiitakes and we'll slice them up. And these are a sturdy mushroom, so they will really hold up well in the soup. So they can go in right with the onions, of which I need to get in right away because my pan just started to smoke there a little bit. So we'll start with those, and then we're going to get these mushrooms in there. And I also have some carrots too, and I'm going to show you a nice way to cut the carrot too. We're going to do one of my favorite cuts, which is called a roll cut or an oblique cut. So I'll drop those in there. Then once we have those in there, we'll just take a little bit of salt here and season this. I'm going to turn that down just a little bit. Take my special spoon here for soup. Let that cook. Now, while these are in here right now, this is when I'm going to add a little bit of cayenne. Going to get that cayenne in there. Now, since this pan is so hot and the cayenne went up my nose, it's water, by the way. I'm just going to add just a little bit of liquid to this. We don't want to scorch it. So we'll just add that to it. Now we'll take our carrot. Now it just totally threw me off. Never bounce your knife like that, by the way. For the carrot, we're just going to take the carrot. We'll cut it on a bias this way. Then we give it a little bit of a turn, See how we're just kind of rolling it? And we're cutting down. So the carrot is essentially coming off the board at about a 45-degree angle. I'm cutting down on a bias at about a 75 to 90-degree angle, therefore creating a oblique or roll cut. Does that make sense? Basically, you're cutting it on an angle, you give it a third of a turn, you cut it down again. And this way, no matter how big the carrot is from one end to the other, this cut will be similar in size to this cut right here, so it'll cook evenly. And that's the whole purpose of that. So let's get these carrots in here. Okay, and we're just going to now add the rest of our chicken stock here and bring this up to a simmer. This is going to come to a simmer. It's going to produce a little bit of foam or scum on the top that we need to take away. So I'm going to let that do that. In the meantime, I have some chicken marinating here, but I'll give you those ingredients right after we come back from this break that we need to take right now. It's viewer request today on Let's Cook. We'll be right back. Hi, welcome back to Let's Cook, where it is viewer request day on the show today. Now, I started the soup here, and our soup is simmering, but I have a marinade that I used for the chicken that I'm going to be using. And in that marinade, I used 2 tablespoons of cayenne pepper, a pound of chicken that I diced up, a tablespoon of salt, a tablespoon of ground black pepper, and 2 tablespoons of parsley. This is what it looks like, and it's a dry marinade. I just kind of let it sit in the marinade to let those flavors infuse, and then I take and I heat a pan here with a little bit of oil into the pan, and all I'm going to do is take this marinated chicken, and I'm just going to basically sear this off or saute it so that the flavors really come out. Now, I could have done this in the pan when I started my soup and done the chicken separately, but I don't want the chicken to be I don't want it to be braised or simmered too long in a liquid, so I'll do it this way. So we're going to let that start to saute up. Now, my soup right here, I told you before, when we bring it up to a simmer, we're going to get some foam on the top. You see the impurities here that come out? This is where we come with the ladle, and you get rid of that. Now, any stock that you make, whether you make your own stock or you buy it at the market, and it might say it's fat-free or low sodium or anything like that, it's still going to have impurities that you need to remove. So by doing that, we're going to end up with a much cleaner flavor in our soup, much cleaner. So that's simmering nicely. I'm going to bring that up to simmer. My chicken's doing well. Now I have some escarole here. You know, escarole, it's kind of an interesting green here because it's, you know, a lettuce, but it has that bitter flavor. So you don't cook it too long, but it's delicious in soups, and it's loaded with vitamins. It's real healthy for you. So I'm just going to take this and I'm going to shred this now, and I do need to cook this for a little while. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this in my soup now that's simmering. Let that flavor come out. Come over here to my chicken. My chicken's doing nicely here. Good. So this is almost done. This chicken is almost done cooking because remember, I'm going to, well, you want to remember this, but I'm going to actually add this to my soup here as well. Now, the other thing I need to do is I have a little bit of cornstarch here. And with the cornstarch, I'm just going to take and use a little bit of cold water here and dilute this and make it into a slurry. Now, when I make this into a slurry, I really want it to be about the consistency of whole milk. That way, and you have to dilute this in cold water because if you added hot water to it, the starch would already start to develop and it won't work. So I have that right there. Let's go back to our chicken here. Okay. Doesn't that look great? This is now ready to go into the soup. So I'll take this. I'll add this into the soup. Beautiful. Get that all in there. I'll even take a little bit of my liquid here, deglaze this pan that the chicken was seared in, put that into the soup as well. So that's good. Now, the other thing we need to do is we have some beans here. We're going to add these cooked beans to the soup as well. Here's where we're making it a meal, right? And this was somebody that I met out in Hershey, Pennsylvania, was talking to me and said, you know, Paul, I'm really busy. I need like just a one-pot soup meal that's just going to work. Now, we're going to bring this up to a simmer. And now, you see the consistency here that we have in our soup? It's just a little runny, right? Just a little runny. So what I'll do is I'll bring this up to a simmer and I'll incorporate some of this cornstarch. You could also use arrowroot too. So we'll just get a little bit of this cornstarch in here just to give it a little bit of body. We don't want it to be like a gravy, just a little bit of body, a little bit of shine there. Looks good, doesn't it? Now, here's the piece de resistance. I'm going to put in a little bit of dry sherry, and I'm also going to add, just not the top in the soup, I'm going to add a little bit of rice wine vinegar to this. And what the vinegar will do is the vinegar is going to bring out all the flavors of everything in the soup. Then now this soup is nicely thickened here. We just dish this up. I'm going to show you how this looks because it looks so good. Oh, doesn't this look great? out of this world. Now, the only other thing we need to do is just finish this with a little grated provolone cheese. This really works for me. Out of this world. Beautiful. Okie dokie. We have to take a little break, but before we go, let's just go over the method we used for the soup. First, we marinated the chicken and seared it or sauteed it. Then we sauteed the vegetables, added stock to that, and heated it to a simmer. After we seared that chicken, which I already mentioned that we did, we added the chicken to it along with the escarole and the beans. Then we thickened it with a little bit of cornstarch, finishing it with a little bit of vinegar and a little sherry. Then, of course, you have to season it to taste, and then we added the cheese in at the very end. Don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we are making a braised calamari with a shrimp stuffing. It's viewer request today on Let's Cook. We'll be right back. Hi, welcome back to Let's Cook, where we are making recipes that viewers have requested. Now, this next item that I'm making, it's a shrimp stuffed braised calamari. Let's go over the ingredients for the stuffed calamari. I'll be using 12 16 to 20 count shrimp, a cup of fresh breadcrumbs, 2 ounces of butter, 1/4 of a cup of milk, 1 egg, and of course the calamari, 8 of those for stuffing. Then for the braising liquid, this is so simple. We'll be finishing it with 1/2 a cup of parsley, 6 tablespoons of butter, along with 1/4 of a cup of tomatoes, 1/2 a cup of white wine, 1/2 a cup of chicken or fish stock, or water even, and salt and pepper to taste. So let's get started on the stuffing first. So what I have right here is I have some diced or finely chopped shrimp here, where I took the shrimp and I really finely chopped it just by hand. I didn't use a Cuisinart at all. So I'll take the shrimp, we'll put that into the bowl. Along with that, we're going to add our breadcrumbs. Now, these are just fresh breadcrumbs. It's not even dry bread. It's almost, as if you were making a turkey stuffing, and I left the crust on them. Then we'll add, of course, 1 egg. Now, if you want this a little richer, you could add a 2nd egg too. It's okay. I think I'm going to go with the 2nd egg in here. A little bit here of milk. That's good. Some salt. A little bit more salt. A little bit more salt. I'm really not putting that much salt in. Everybody's saying, oh, it's going to make it so salty. No, it's not going to be too salty. So we'll just take this, we mix this together. And that egg is really going to bind it, even though the shrimp themselves contain a lot of albumin or protein. Okay, so now normally you would make this and you could let this sit in the refrigerator and just kind of soften up. And if you want, you could even go in there and break up that bread, but you really don't have to. So we'll just mix this together here well. So that's good to go. Next, we need to get our braising liquid ready to go. For the braising liquid, this is the easy part of this. We just take our tomatoes right here in the bottom here. Then we'll take our white wine. Remember, this is going to reduce down in the refrigerator. We have our fish stock there. Then we'll be finishing this with some parsley and butter. The only thing I need to do is, of course, we need to season this with a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. Now, the calamari or the squid, based on the size that you get, but these are all nicely cleaned up. And you can see, when I went to, and I purchased these, I said to him, make sure I have all the same size, but you can see they might have different sizes there. The easiest way to stuff these is to use a pastry bag. I mean, you can take this if you want, and I'll show you, and I'll just show you, you have the easy way and you have the hard way. So I could take this like this and then try and get the stuffing in there. So you have to kind of hold this open and then get that in there. And I just don't have the patience for that. So I just find it much easier to take a pastry bag. I put what we call a French tip in the bottom here. See this French tip here? That's a French tip right there. Okay? And you can actually twist this, and that way the stuffing won't even come out when you go to fill it. You see how I twist it right there? So that way it won't come out. We'll put our stuffing right in there. Where it's twisted here, again, see I twisted at the bottom here. I don't want the stuffing to come out while I fill it. Put this right in here. Beautiful. Then we take this, and I just find this very easy, because then you have the piece of metal there. You just get the metal, almost like you're stuffing a sausage here, where you just go down here. Look, Yep. Fill it up. Isn't this great? It makes it so much easier, almost like you're making a sausage. See how happy he is? And again, you want to make sure that you've cleaned out. There is a cartilage on the inside of the calamari here. Looks like a little piece of plastic. You need to make sure that you remove that. But see how we just stuff them this way? Great. Then the calamari itself will shrink. It's going to shrink. So what we need to do is we need to close this out so the stuffing doesn't come out. So I take a skewer like this and I go across the end of it this way. Again, I'll just show you that way. You need to make sure all that stuffing stays in there. And this will shrink about 20%. So we just get these in like this. Let me see, I have one more skewer here. If you don't have these bamboo skewers, you could go ahead and use a simple toothpick. So we'll get these down. See how I set them up here? And you do need to have a little bit of space in between them. Let me just show you this again, because these are so good. And the great thing about these is you can make these a day before and then just kind of reheat them. But see how with the pastry bag, you see how much easier that is just to get that stuffed. It really works well. So come over here, go like this, close that up, and then the calamari itself either has to cook for a long time or a short time. If it cooks for a very short time, it's going to be nice and tender. That's usually when you get it fried and in rings. If you're cooking it or even broiling it, cook for a very short time. If you're braising it, it has to cook until it becomes tender. You'll put a little bit of salt on here. Then you're just going to take this, pop this in the oven here. I'll just pop it in the top oven here. I have something there in the bottom. And look at this. I already have one here. These are all done here. These are beautiful. They're ready to go. Going to take these out right here. See how great these look? Okay, we're going to let these rest. We're going to get them out of the pan, but I have to show you how to finish the sauce. But I think I'll do that after we go to break. Don't go anywhere. It's viewer request today on Let's Cook. We'll be right back. Hi, welcome back to Let's Cook, where we are finishing our shrimp stuffed calamari. Now, I have them right here, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick these up, and you need to set these up into a dish, and you need to pull that skewer out of there. So I'll just come over here, we'll set them up here, and you notice how the shrimp stuffing never came out of them by doing it this way. Absolutely out of there. These are going to be so delicious. And again, even though they're braised, it's a good idea to let them rest. Now, the dressing, I'm sorry, not the dressing, but the sauce that we use to make this with, that had wine and a little bit of fish stock and some tomatoes, but we really need to finish that sauce. Now, the calamari themselves, they don't contain a lot of fat. And we didn't really put that much fat into the stuffing either. So now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this sauce here and finish it, which means I'll take it, I'll put this in a nice hot pan. I'm going to bring this up to a boil. So and you can see how nice and quick this is coming up to a boil. I'm not worried about the butter that's in there. And there are some proteins that came out of the calamari, but we can leave them in here. Now I have two options here. One, I could puree this and make it finer. Or the other thing that I could do is I could just reduce it down and let those flavors really concentrate. So we're going to let this reduce down a little bit. I'm not going to thicken this. I want just a natural body from the protein and the shrimp that came out of the calamari to tighten this up a little bit. You see here, see how it's already starting to get almost a nappe consistency? Now here's where God decided we should have a little bit of butter. So all we do now is we take the butter and we're going to swirl this butter into this. Now what I'm doing right now is what we would call monte au beurre, because I'm mounting the sauce. Monte means to mount with butter. I'm mounting it with butter. See the different consistency here now? We have this beautiful consistency. Then just finish this with a little bit of parsley. We're going to taste this now. Always taste at the end. Needs a little bit more salt. Could use just a little bit more pepper here. Wait till you see how good this looks on the calamari. So we come right over here now. Doesn't this look fabulous? Out of this world. You know, I really enjoy the emails that I get, and I really enjoy when I do live demonstrations of people come up and talk to me, because You really are an inspiration when it comes to me coming up with different shows. Hope you enjoyed this show. Keep those viewer requests coming. Thank you for watching Let's Cook. You have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.